obscure city is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding him. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com.
Even extraordinary cartoons can have extraordinarily bad episodes. And when that happens, you get InepToons. Okay, I'm gonna say this right up front. I'm doing this episode in protest, because while most of the fan base labels this episode as the worst one in the series, I strongly disagree. How the hell can Egg Baby be the worst episode of Batman Beyond when there is an episode called Terry's Friend Dates a Robot? Terry's Friend Dates a Robot! But I digress. And if you're one of those people who label Egg Baby as the girl episode, first of all, get out. And secondly, you can take your misogyny, turn it sideways, and shove it straight up your ass guard. Now, with that said, I will fulfill your request to riff on this episode, as I feel that nothing is immune to parody. And just because you love something, it doesn't mean that you can't riff on it. So, how did this episode happen? Well, as most of you know, Batman Beyond was the darkest show ever produced for the DC animated universe. And while the network did submit notes to lighten things up, they also exhibited a great deal of leniency towards the program, as it was the biggest hit the Kids WB had at the time. But after a year and a half of getting the same notes from the network, the creative team decided to challenge themselves and produce a lighter episode. Bruce Timm specifically said that the mandate was to produce the most childish episode that they could possibly come up with. Co-writer Hilary J. Bader, however, said that one of the biggest inspirations was the other big WB hit, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that would mix dark horror stories with mundane high school drama. Coincidentally, Buffy does have a season 2 episode called Bad Eggs, with an extremely similar plot. So, without further ado, let's see how this so-called childish episode turned out. Fanboys and fangirls, from Batman Beyond, this is the Egg Baby. So our episode begins with our main villains going on a heist, the Mayhem family. Ma Mayhem and her two sons, Slim and Carl. And yes, there is a comic book character named Ma Mayhem, but she is a Marvel character and an enemy of Werewolf by Night. The Ma Mayhem in this episode is an original character that was created for the show and voiced by the late great Kathleen Freeman, who among many things is best known for this wonderful scene from the Blues Brothers. Carl is played by Mark Rolstead, who is best known as Sergeant Drake from Aliens, and Slim is voiced by Andy Dick, who I could make fun of, but it would be dated and easy, and he did a really good job here, so it would be completely out of place. Anyway, the Mayhems are professional thieves. Slim is the tech expert, a super genius, and Carl is not. Oh, Carl, you big old dummy. Inside, they take the butler hostage, who leads them to a secret safe that Slim opens easily. However, out of all of its valuable content, Ma only takes a ruby ring and forbids her boys from taking anything else.
Hello, police. I want to report a robbery. A ruby ring. And 20,000 credits.
Oh, unnamed butler, you little scamp. The next day at Hamilton Hill High School, Bruce Wayne calls Terry McGinnis to inform him of the robbery.
Ma Mayhem?
A tabloid gave her that name. It was the golden age of alliteration.
The golden age of alliteration? Sounds like an awesome age of astonishing elocution. Bruce also informs Terry that the ruby ring is part of a larger set of jewelry, and that more than likely, Ma Mayhem will go after the other pieces next.
What's she gonna do with them all?
Don't know. But I have a feeling she's not making slippers.
Slippers? From rubies?
I understood that reference.
Terry cuts the call short as he can't afford to be late to class, as he is failing family studies.
How does someone fail family studies?
Now that is a relevant question. In the classroom, their teacher gives them their assignment for the week and introduces them to the eponymous egg baby. Basically, it's the futuristic version of the parenting assignment. But instead of taking a fragile egg home and taking care of it, Terry and his classmates are given digital plastic toy eggs that make sounds and react as real babies would. How much or how little they each stimulate their egg baby will be recorded and will determine their grade. Drop your egg baby and you fail. The teacher then divides the class into random couples and distributes the egg babies. Most of the boys really seem to be into this, even more so than the girls, especially Howard, the nerd, and Nelson, the bully. See this right here? This is lovely and refreshing. It makes me question why anyone would think that this episode is bad. Unfortunately, Terry gets paired with Blade Summer, who's just the worst.
They're babies, Mr. McGinnis. You must be gentle with them.
Terry responsibly spends the day taking care of Egg Baby, so that night he can leave him with Blade and go out as Batman to catch the Mayhems. Unfortunately, Blade is the worst.
But I had it all day, and I've got something important to do.
I don't care.
Terry has no choice but to take Egg Baby on stakeout with him. He does try to hide him, but unfortunately, the world's greatest detective is listening in.
It's not a child. It's... Turn on your vidlink. See?
And lo and behold, Bruce was right. The Mayhems are there stealing the ruby earrings that go with the ring. And the Egg Baby's crying gets their attention. A badass fight ensues. Thankfully, Terry catches him and puts him in a dumpster. And boy, are those some bad optics. He tries to stop the Mayhems, but the garbage truck shows up to pick up the dumpster where he left Egg Baby. So once again, he has to divert to save him.
Was that Batman? Dumpster diving?
The fella's gotta eat.
Jokes! This episode's got them! The next day at school, Howard and Nelson continue to show off their mad parenting skills. And Blade continues to be the worst!
Jurgen has this new vid I want to check out.
I want a divorce.
I never thought I'd enforce this discourse, but I must endorse this divorce. Of course.
Fancy.
Meanwhile, in the Batcave, Bruce informs Terry that the last piece of the ruby set, the necklace, is on display at the Museum of Fashion. So it's very likely that that is where the Mayhems will strike next. Bruce then questions the logic of Terry taking Egg Baby with him. Terry insists that he can't leave him with anyone as his mom and Blade refused, and his younger brother keeps shooting rubber bands at the Egg Baby. What is wrong with that kid? And Bruce claims that he doesn't like kids. Right. Terry reassures him that he played with Egg Baby all afternoon, so he should spend the rest of the evening sleeping. So, Terry arrives at the Museum of Fashion, but this time hides Egg Baby next to an air conditioning unit, which is a massive step up from a dumpster. Inside, the Mayhems swipe the necklace. Terry drops in, and yet another badass fight scene ensues. But this time, Terry messed with the wrong kids. Now that's one bad mother... The Mayhems go to make their getaway on their hover truck, which they left cloaked as the air conditioning unit where Terry hid Egg Baby. Terry frantically searches for Egg Baby. Bruce is a bit condescending at first, since Egg Baby is just a toy, but then deduces that the Batmobile's instruments could potentially detect Egg Baby's distinct electronic crying, and Terry could follow the sound to the Mayhem's lair. Meanwhile, at the Mayhem's lair, our family of thieves admire their spoils, which apparently were the last thing that Ma stole with her husband.
It's all I have left of him. Now that he's gone.
But Ma, Dad's not dead. He just ran off with...
Okay, you have to admit, that's pretty freaking funny. When suddenly, Egg Baby interrupts their banter. The boys can't figure out how to quell its caterwauling, so Ma gives it a shot.
Get rid of it.
By any chance, are you related to Blade Summer? Carl does his best to fulfill his mother's request and drop Egg Baby out the window. Thankfully, Terry makes the save just in time. And yes, this is the famous moment where they both stick out their tongue at Carl as they fly by. And I, unironically, love this moment. The Mayhems once again make a run for it. But Terry puts Egg Baby in his backpack in a line on the back of the Mayhem's hover truck and follows along. Watch out, villains. This crime fighter has a baby on board. Terry cripples their vehicle, forcing them to crash, losing their getaway and their lunch in the process. Terry then drops a few smoke bombs, causing the boys to accidentally turn on each other, and then faces off against Ma alone, but is now mindful of her mighty purse.
No!
Yes, she just left her injured sons at the mercy of Batman and jumped off a building to save some jewelry. Are we sure that she's not a future version of Blade who was accidentally sent back in time? No? Okay, moving on. Terry, of course, saves her, and the Mayhems go to jail. And thus, we cut to the next day at school. During family studies, the teacher reveals everyone's grades. And here's the twist. While everyone took good care of their babies, none of them actually bonded with their plastic progeny. So everyone got a C, except for the one student who fully stimulated his baby, Terry, the only one who got an A+ for the assignment. Yup, Egg Baby likes to fight crime. He's definitely a McGinnis. And now for my one and only true criticism of this episode. If Terry gets an A+, that means that Blade got one too. And you deserve nothing. Nothing but double Fs. Cause you're the worst. The worst! But I digress. Again, I insist, this episode is not that bad. Is it corny? Yes. Is it silly? Yes. Does it stick out compared to the more darker episodes in the series? Absolutely. But it's not bad. It shows how Terry's civilian life can bleed into his crime fighting. The story is really entertaining, and it delivers a wonderful message about the pain and rewards of responsibility. And here's a few fun facts for you. It still remains the only episode of the series that Bruce Timm allowed his daughter to watch when it first aired on TV. This episode won an Emmy, and the latest Batman figure from Mondo comes with, you guessed it, the Egg Baby. So if you still hate this episode, then Terry Jr. only has one stimuli for you. Next time on InepToons.
Yeah! Judo! Punch punch! Ha!